Alrighty, going to give a quick little talk about how to improve the trigger pull in your Kahr pistol. Pretty much all of the cars out there use the same operating and action and all that stuff, so you should be able to take this information and apply it to whatever model you have. First, field strip your firearm. If it's a polymer gun, don't worry about the bottom half. If it's a metal gun, go ahead and pop off your grip panels so you're left with the frame as such. What we're going to do is essentially do our best to reduce or eliminate friction to the best of our possibilities on the moving actions of the parts of the action and the trigger mechanism in the pistol when the trigger is being pulled, as well as in the slide. So what we need to do is essentially give a high mirror polish to the moving parts and also take off any burrs that might be existent. What I use for that to make my life easy is just some hard metal polish. I found this particular tube at Lowe's. I've been using this same tube for a couple years. This is in the stick form. This is not a jeweler's rouge. It's more aggressive. It's meant for hard metals, and so you can see the tip where it's been used with Dremel on that end, and on this end where it's been used with a big old buffer on a grinder, 3/4 horsepower grinder. So anyways, the parts you want to polish and remove burrs from is actually really simple on the Kahr mechanism. If you want to detail strip it, if you have a further than this, like if you have a press to remove the trigger pin, I would not recommend using a hammer and a punch because you may mushroom the head and make installation a complete pain in the butt. Same thing for the rear pin right there. I just did mine as is. I put a mirror finish on this portion of the trigger bar. You see it drops into the frame right there, and this is retained by the grip panel. And if you actually look at your grip panel, you notice that there is actually a metal bar there as well. I forgot to polish that, so I'm about to do that on mine as well. But go ahead and polish the raised portion of the trigger bar. That will reduce the friction right there. I did not remove the bar, and I did not polish the section of the frame underneath the bar. If you can, more power to you. It can only help you. See, also you will want to polish the sear itself. The back portion, the rear of the sear, is what actually pulls back on the striker and releases it. So I literally just took a felt wheel on a Dremel that I used for this and polished. Just put the wheel at the back end and just slowly raise it over till there's a mirror finish. I did the same thing on the portion of this here that lifts the firing pin block. So those both have mirror finishes now where they engage parts. This would be optional. I did the trigger face. I did this while in the gun, so be very careful if you don't have, well, if you're worried about the looks of things. If you don't have good hand-eye coordination and motor skills, don't even bother with this. This just makes it a little bit easier. It just feels smoother as you pull back. It makes it easier to feel where your finger is and keep it perpendicular to the bore when the shot's about to break. So that's an optional step. It's just kind of nice. Let's see, as far as the slide, detail strip your slide. You can find the directions on cartalk.com. It's very similar to how to do a Glock. So as you can see, it's all done. If you take a Q-tip and put polish on that, you can actually get it fairly deep inside of here in the striker pin channel and polish that up, which will help you out a fair amount. The other thing you will wind up doing is taking your striker assembly, which is this bugger right here, give a complete polish on all of the exterior outside diameter surfaces, as well as up here, as well as on the leg where it engages the striker, which is the forward aspect right here. I did the whole thing just to make sure I was covered. Also do the striker spacer, because this travels with the striker inside the channel, helps keep it centered a little bit on the forward end, so go ahead and do that as well, and that will reduce the friction because it's being pulled backwards in that polished channel as it's being fired. These are nickel plated, and on mine I'm missing nickel up in this forward aspect right here, which does build up in striker channel. You'll be able to tell real easily if you still have a nickel coating on yours or not, because the nickel gives a very high sheen very quickly. which makes it very easy and very quick. Next up is the firing pin firing pin striker block right here. Basically it rests in the pistol like this, and this spring pushes against the slide. When you pull on the trigger, it gets pushed up and out of the way of the striker. So give a complete polish in every part that you can on this. I just left the spring alone. If you trimmed a few coils off of the spring, it will reduce your trigger pull weight. I left mine alone. I may mess with it later in the future. This is the pin that pushes on the extractor. I put a polish on the raised portions. You'll notice that the center is not raised. This end and this end are raised. They actually travel. So I polished that to make my life easier. It has nothing to do with the pull weight. On the extractor, I've polished the circular area that goes into the slide, as well as the flats that go into the slide. I did not touch anything near where the extractor grabs rim on the cartridge. It's not needed. None of this is needed. It just makes it easier to clean up later in the future. Let's see what else. The takedown lever, side stop lever, whatever you want to call it, on the metal cars and the PMs, the higher end guns. It's a two-piece unit, so you can actually hold it in 360 swivel. It's not a one-piece unit like on the CW series. I went ahead and I polished this entire area on the rotating pin aspect, simply to make it easier for installation and also to help reduce the buildup when the gun's being ran. On the barrel, I did the whole barrel hood. I've done the leg where it engages into the guide rod, again just to make it easier to clean up and for reassembly purposes, as well as inside of this area with a Q-tip. But really the only part you need to focus on for improving your trigger pull, it's the firing pin block right there, the striker assembly, and the trigger aspect that I showed you in the frame. That's all you really need to do to improve the trigger pull, and that has made enough of a difference with this particular pistol that most people who did not like the gun before are now seriously considering buying the pistols. It does feel like it has a lighter pull weight, simply because any burrs that were there, any cleaning gunk, whatever's been built up is removed, and it's a slick surface now, so it can't really build up as easily. And it reduces friction. So the pull weight is probably maybe a pound less, but it feels much smoother, especially when you clean and oil your gun. So that is essentially how to do a trigger job slash action job on a Kahr pistol. One thing to note is a lot of people don't know actually how to use a felt wheel and polish. What you'll do is, for example, I use a Dremel, which is a great tool as long as you're using felt wheel. Do not ever put a stone or grinding stone, anything that cuts, onto a Dremel and touch a gun with it. It'll just screw it up. But just take your Dremel and put it on low speed, give it a quick touch, and you'll notice that the wheel will start to turn gray. And crank your speed up after you take it off the stick and go ahead and work the area that you want to work on the part. When you notice that this starts to turn black, your polish essentially is not doing you any more good. And at that point, since the wheel is hot, well, the felt wheel is hot, it will absorb polish much easier. So after dropping it back down to low speed and then cranking it back up to 20,000 RPM or so to work on the parts, when it starts to get warm, you can just give it a quick touch and just literally just run it real quick and very lightly over the polish stick. It'll pick up plenty of polish. Just keep working it. When it turns black, just redo it and just keep working the part until you get a finish that you're happy with as far as the mirror finishes go. And after you are done with that, get out a cloth towel and wipe down your parts real good. Get any of that black residue that's left on the parts off. Give them a good oiling and reassemble. So that's how you do a trigger job on a Kahr pistol, which Cylinder & Slide charges over $200 for. Enjoy!